Hello everyone, and welcome back to Fallout 76 for another round of legendary crafting. Today's video is going to be a little different from some of the other ones. We'll be doing this one on the public test server and looking at the Alien Disintegrator, a new weapon that you'll be able to get as a reward from the upcoming Invaders From Beyond seasonal event. It's important to note that everything you see here technically contains spoilers for upcoming content. While we won't be covering story details or many details at all for that matter, if you want to be completely surprised, you should probably stop here. It's also important to note that what we see here is taking place on the test server pre-release, so it is entirely possible that things we talk about here can change before these things go live. There could be delays, there could be any number of unforeseen things, so while I'm going to try to keep things general enough that I don't think anything's going to let us down if there's any big changes, it is always possible, so bear that in mind. With all that said, let's take a brief look at the new weapon before we go ahead and roll legendary effects. Looking over the weapon itself, we can see that it looks like a graphically improved version of what we saw in Fallout 3's Mothership Zeta DLC. There really aren't any major changes to its appearance, which in my opinion is great. The more Fallout 3 they want to inject into Fallout 76, the better. Performance-wise, it's an interesting weapon. On the PTS now, it looks like they've made some adjustments to the way energy damage impacts enemies. So all energy weapons are much more powerful than they currently are in the live game. This one could still probably use a bit of a buff, along with a handful of other weapons, but it's a huge improvement either way. They're at least powerful enough to use now, on par with what I call second-tier commando weapons like the assault rifle and the submachine gun. You learn the plan as a reward from the Invaders From Beyond event, which should be hitting the live game in March, and you can also learn a variety of mods for it, including an automatic receiver mod, something the Alien Blaster, its pistol counterpart, doesn't appear to have. That makes it a pretty viable weapon. The other interesting thing about it is that much like the Alien Blaster, the Disintegrator seems to be suppressed by default. Despite making noise and firing large, bright energy balls, I don't notice any significant difference in my ability to stay hidden with this weapon on my stealth commando versus a fixer or a handmaid that have suppressors equipped. You can, of course, still get detected just like you can with those weapons, but at least for me, that's usually the result of clumsiness rather than the weapon itself. Perhaps there's some other technical difference in the overall stealthiness of the weapon. Maybe it's not suppressed, maybe there's something else going on, but I can say matter-of-factly that in my experience, it's night and day when I compare it to something like a plasma or laser rifle. With those weapons, I get detected very easily. That's not the case here. Whether that's intentional or a bug remains to be seen, but it's how the Alien Blaster performed as well. So my thinking is that it is intended, or at least it's such a long-standing bug that it isn't likely to be fixed. For general use, especially if you're utilizing stealth, you'll find the Disintegrator to work efficiently enough, taking out most enemies in 1 to 3 headshots, and that's the key. Due to its lack of sights and slow, let's just call it a projectile, this weapon is really only useful with VATS. That's not a terrible thing, as you can take advantage of your VATS critical build to add some damage that the weapon lacks on its own. I've seen some people lament the speed of the projectile. Personally, I think it's kind of cool how it works in VATS. You'll see the energy balls arc and curve towards their target. It's a very alien-feeling experience, which is, kind of appropriate here. So if you're using the single-shot rifle mods on the weapon instead of the automatic, you'll get a little bit more damage per shot, but your overall DPS will drop quite a bit. So unless you're just dedicated to that playstyle or you really want the cryo or poison effect that you can get on it, the automatic mod will be the most effective by far. All in all, I'm pretty pleased with this addition to the game. It's not a super rare drop from the event, so most players who are moderately grinding it when it comes out will likely get a hold of it along with the good mods. As of now, it isn't tradable, but that seems like a pretty unpopular decision, so hopefully they reverse that and make it even more accessible to players when the event goes live. It's a really fun weapon that fits well with the event that awards it. It looks great, sounds great, all the things I always appreciate in a new weapon, and when you see lots of players running around with it, it really changes the feel of the game. I'm definitely a fan so far. Once you learn the plan for the weapon, you can craft them at any weapon workbench, and you can add legendary mods to them as well, which is exactly what we're going to do now. I've got enough legendary modules for 10 3-star rolls, so let's see if we can get anything interesting. As always, we'll talk about what makes them good, what makes them bad, and what makes them in between. Let's see what we've got. All right, and our first roll is an Executioners with Last Shot and VATS critical meter that fills 15% faster. I like the Executioners effect here. As I mentioned earlier, I would probably compare this weapon to the submachine gun or the assault rifle in terms of commando weapons, and those are weapons that do a little bit less damage than some of the others. So you need to put a few more shots on your target to take it down, which means you're going to get a little more mileage out of something like Executioners than you do on a Fixer, where you're pretty much killing everything in 1 or 2 shots, where with this you're taking maybe 2 to 4 depending on your targets and where you're hitting them. So you can get a little bit more mileage out of that. Not a fan of the last shot effect on this weapon either. We've got 25 rounds in the magazine with the automatic receiver on this one, so again, tactical reloads, you're not going to be shooting that last round all that often, so it's really not going to pay off very well. VATS critical meter filling faster is definitely helpful. You're going to likely use this in VATS, so if you're using a VATS critical build, that's just going to amplify that and give you a little more firepower. So not bad, not a bad first roll. Let's see what we get for the second one. This one is Zealots. We replenish action points with each kill, and we have 90% reduced weight. So normally, again, not a huge fan of the situational damage effects, but the Zealots effect isn't bad. You get an extra bonus against Scorched, and I believe it also applies to Scorched Beasts. I've heard some debate on that, but I'm fairly certain that's correct. With the 90% reduced weight mod on there, even with the automatic mod on it, the weapon still only weighs 1.4 pounds, so it's a pretty significant benefit. So if you wanted to keep one of these around just to take on Scorched, save it for daily ops, things like that, you can do that and actually get away with it pretty well. Even with the automatic mod on there, it's not terrifically heavy, so you can pretty easily carry it with you. Replenishing action points with each kill is going to play well with VATS because you're going to get a lot of kills fairly quickly, so you'll keep your AP going and keep that VATS meter running. So all in all, is this some kind of god roll? No. But it's not a bad one to get. The 90% reduced weight makes its kind of niche status a little more palatable than it might with another combination. And next up, we've got an anti-armor with 25% damage while aiming and extra agility. So the anti-armor effect I like. That's definitely going to help us break through a little extra armor on our enemies and make the weapon more powerful. Unfortunately, the 25% damage while aiming perk is pretty useless on this weapon. You saw me running through with it a little bit. There's no iron sights to aim down. It's really hard to aim this weapon manually. I'm sure there are going to be people all out there who take on that challenge and really get into it, but I think for the most part, this is going to be a VATS weapon. So sadly, that legendary effect, at least in my eyes, is fairly wasted. Extra agility is going to get us a little bit more AP. It's going to get us a little bit more of a stealth benefit, but it's fairly insignificant. So I don't think we're getting a whole lot of mileage out of that. Overall, the anti-armor effect, definitely good, but I wish that had rolled with some better second and third effects. Let's keep going. And our fourth roll is a quad with damage while aiming, and we break 50% slower. Love the first effect, love the third effect. Just like before, don't love the second effect. Damage while aiming, definitely a missed opportunity on this one. With the quad effect on here, with the automatic receiver mod on here, you are going to get 100 rounds of ammo per magazine, which is pretty awesome because this is, while it's not a super slow reload, it almost feels like the Tesla rifle in terms of reloading, where it feels like it should be quicker than it is. But it does take a second to reload it, so being able to not have to do that is definitely a nice thing, but the weapon's also a bit underpowered, so being able to have some more damage from another legendary effect might be more beneficial. A lot of people love the quad effect. I like the quad effect, but your mileage may vary. Breaking 50% slower is always good in my eyes. I hate fixing things. And it sounds like I've got some cave crickets trying to eat my camp, so let's eliminate them and then we'll go ahead and keep rolling. All right, next up, we've got a Nocturnal with limb damage and 25% less VATS AP cost. The Nocturnal effect is kind of cool on this weapon, just thematically. It's not a bad effect anymore. You do get a pretty solid damage buff at night, and there's no more negative during the day. And something about using an alien weapon to sneak up on things and kill them at night is just kind of cool. So I do like that. Limb damage, not a huge fan of that on most rifles. I think even with a slightly underpowered weapon like this, you're still going to be killing things very, very quickly. So I don't think you're going to get a lot of usage out of that. 25% less VATS AP cost is definitely helpful. Once again, this is a VATS-centric weapon, so anything that's going to make it easier to use in VATS is good, especially because we don't have any sight mods. You can't put a reflex sight on it to reduce its VATS AP cost. There's no other mods to do that. So you have to rely on legendary effects for that, and 25% less cost is definitely a good one to get. So not bad. I know a lot of people aren't crazy about the Nocturnal effect, but I think there's something cool about it for this weapon. Let's keep moving. All right, and we've got a few more to go. Let's see what we've got on this one. Ouch. Okay, so this one is Berserkers with 50% limb damage, and our VATS critical meter fills 15% faster. I don't really love the Berserkers effect. It's a great idea. Getting more damage for wearing less armor, I think, is a sensible legendary effect. Unfortunately, it doesn't come close to what you get from Bloodied, and it's much harder to stay alive without armor than it is with low health. You've got so many perks that synergize with that help keep you alive and help increase your damage and give you other benefits like unyielding legendary effects and all those things. So I don't love the Berserkers effect. I think that should get a huge buff to make it kind of comparable to Bloodied. But until that happens, it's going to be a loser in my eyes. Limb damage, don't love it. VATS critical meter filling 15% faster is fine, but I'm not keeping around this weapon just for that. So sadly, we're going to move on from this one. This one was a dud. Let's see if we can get another good one. All right, and we've got another anti-armor, also with damage while aiming, and a VATS critical meter that fills 15% faster. I kind of feel like we've talked about this one when we rolled it before, so I like anti-armor. I like VATS critical meter filling faster. Damage while aiming still leaves a lot to be desired. I don't think we need to bang on this one anymore. Let's just keep moving along. All right, we've got enough for two more, and this one is Hunters with 25% faster fire rate and extra agility. So the Hunter's effect, situational damage, not the most useful situational damage either. Sadly with this one, are you really going to go animal hunting with this? I mean, maybe if you want to dress up like an alien and go mutilate Brahmin or something, then maybe you can have a little fun with that. But otherwise, I don't really see people making a ton of use out of that effect. Faster fire rate, however, does make this weapon really fun. The one you saw me running around with earlier was an Executioner's faster fire rate version of this weapon. So yeah, faster fire rate is definitely cool. You do notice it. It does increase your DPS, so that's good, but Hunter's probably not good enough to keep around. Extra agility, again, a little extra sneak, a little extra AP. It's nice, but unless you just really want the faster fire rate and you don't have any other good disintegrators, this one's probably going to go back in the script bin. We've got room for one more. Let's see if we can get a winner. And this one is a winner indeed. We've got Executioners with VATS hit chance and 15% faster reload. So I love the VATS hit chance effect. It makes it so much easier to target enemy weak points, which give you bonus damage. The Executioner's effect, like we talked about earlier, somewhat lower damage weapon means a lot more, or at least a few more shots on target. We're going to get a lot of mileage out of that. That combo is going to make this really useful. 15% faster reload is a nice little help there too. It's not a super slow reload on this weapon, but speeding it up by 15%, I'm not going to cry about that. So we got a couple interesting ones here today. This one is definitely a good one. I like the Executioner's effect on weapons like this, and I love VATS hit chance, so this one's going to be a lot of fun to run around and play with, especially because I really like using the weapon in VATS. And that, my friends, is going to bring us to the end of this one. I hope you enjoyed getting a sneak peek at the Alien Disintegrator and seeing what kind of legendary effects we can get on it. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to go ahead and hit the like button, subscribe, leave a comment, follow me on Twitter. There's always a lot more to come on the channel. We do a stream, at least one stream every week. There's always at least one video a week, and don't worry, soon I will be back to the lore videos. Still getting caught up from some of the things I had going on in my personal life, but we're getting there, we're getting back on track, and I certainly hope to see all of you next time.